conducted on April 6, 1987, at 15 Bon Temple Road in Newton. This interview is conducted as part of an oral history project of Boston College and the Newton Public Library. The general subject is... So your name is Eileen Kline.
Yeah.
Is there an E on the end?
It's spelled K-L-I-N-E. Yeah.
N-E?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not normal, is it?
Well, it's normal. There are quite a few ways of spelling it. That, I think, is more like the German way.
Mm-hmm.
The German pronunciation is Kline.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think. Because in Austria it is anyway, every time I've seen it. The other Kline is, I think, an affectation.
Oh, really?
I think this is the way it used to be spelled. Because most people do spell it that way.
Okay. And you live at, is it 15 Bon Temple?
Yeah.
And it's in Newton, right?
This is Newton. It's really the edge of Newton, but it's Newton.
And it's 332.
0252.
025.
Actually, I don't know if you've done any reading in English about the Transcendentalists. They were right up here. They had a colony. All your writers.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
If you go up the street, there's a cemetery over there. There's a big rock. It was called Pulpit Rock.
Uh-huh.
And this is the area where they found and had a commune
Wow.
and lived. There's quite a bit of history up through there.
Uh-huh. When was that? I'm not good.
Oh, that's let's see, Transcendentalists. That's the time of Benjamin Franklin, early 1700s.
Is that early?
I think.
And,
Don't go with dates by me.
Okay.
That's bad.
I know, I'm a history major and I'm not good with
Ooh,
dates either.
I'm terrible. I can remember things,
Mhm.
but ask me when, and
I get it out of whack too. I think that's my problem. So do you have an occupation? You're a housewife?
Oh no. Well, actually, I'm a musician, but I'm a piano teacher right now.
Okay, that's right.
Used to be school music teacher too, but I don't do it anymore.
You were what grades did you teach?
I taught everything, but I taught primarily junior high school, and a couple of college courses once in a while, but I just didn't have time to keep it up. So, forget that. I'm a piano teacher.
Okay. And when were you born?
1926.
Birthday?
Yeah, 11:30.
Where?
Brockton, Massachusetts.
Where's that?
That is near Avon and Randolph. They're all in close proximity there. It's going out towards...
I know I heard of Avon. I can't remember where it is.
Well, if you go up Route 1 and you go on to 128 and you keep going, it's before... it's midway to the Cape, I think. It's on that way. I think you turn off, you veer off somewhere. I never lived there. I grew up in Arlington.
Oh.
But I was born in Brockton.
And what was your father's name?
Cohen. Joseph Cohen. COA champ.
And where was he born?
Poland, I believe.
What was his occupation?
He was a storekeeper.
When did he come to the United States?
Let me think. You know, you're really hitting me with stuff I can hardly remember because I was one of 4 children and my oldest brother passed away. He was almost 20 years older than I.
Oh my gosh.
So you're hitting me with stuff that's a little bit, wait a minute now. Well, he had to be.
Were all the children born in the United States?
Oh, yeah. But he came here when he was 17 and he died in early, let's see, he died in 1941.
That was a long time ago.
And he was 57, so let's figure it out.
So, 41, he was 57.
Yeah.
You subtract
And
that,
he
right?
came here at 17.
Well, came here at 17, so he came here in 1901.
About right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my mother was born in this country, so that's no problem.
Well, what's your mother's name?
Lena.
Lena. And where was she born?
She was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. Did she work?
So she was, let's see, what did she do at first? She was a milliner.
A milliner?
Milliner.
Is that how you
Made
say it?
hats.
Milliner?
Yeah.
And this is your second marriage?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been married? It ended,
14 years, second marriage.
Okay.
Alright.
14, so that would have been 73 or 72?
73.
Okay. How, they didn't instruct us what to do if you were married twice. So, did you live in this house with your first husband?
Yeah.
And, when did the two of you live here? Do you have children with your first
Yes.
husband? Alright. I think we'll probably concentrate on the history then with your first husband. When was, when were you married with your first husband?
Let's see, February 25th. Funny. I can only wait until,
How old were you when you got married?
it was just around 1950.
1950.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had to be. Yeah.
And what were your husband's name and your first husband's name?
Well, would you want the first one?
I'm gonna actually I'll put a slash because your children are with your first husband and they want to ask questions about your children too. And since it's
All right, their name is Maxner.
Your children's name?
Yeah,
How many
Oh.
children do you have?
2, boy and a girl.
What are their names?
Chad and Jody. J-O-D-I.
And what?
M-A-X-N-E-R.
What's your husband's name now?
Ted.
Where was he born?
Wonderful. Boston, I guess.
Does he work?
He publishes a trade magazine.
Where do your children live?
Well, one lives in L.A. and the other one lives in Connecticut.
How long will you live there? Approximately.
let's say. Moved around so much. I would say for the last, I'll put down the last 6-7 years. That should be okay.
And did they go to college?
Mm-hmm.
So how many years of education would be?
They're college graduates.
12, 16. Did they go to graduate school?
Oh, well, they took a few courses, but no, just very full. They're both in business now.
And where did they get their degrees?
Let's see, Joe got hers from UMass, Amherst, and Joe got his from BU.
Okay. Is English the only language spoken in your home?
Yes.
You don't speak Polish?
I wouldn't know a word of Polish. Believe me. I might know a few words of Yiddish, but I don't know Polish. I do understand Yiddish, I don't speak.
We have to get you to sign this. We interview in case anything's ever published, we need your release, that we can use your information.
Well, what are you going to use that for? Just for a...
See, I can't imagine anything ever being published, but what we do is we give them the tape.
See, what I thought was that you needed this for what went on here in the park.
Right. And we have to give it to the library. And if the library ever publishes anything, then we have to have your release form. So I guess if the library were ever to make any money off the book or off what they publicated, then you couldn't sue them for money. That's the way they explained to us. Here,
well, that's bad when you're taping something, then people should not allow you to tape.
do you want me to turn it off?
They shouldn't. Because, God forbid you say something that,
I can
like in
anything.
jest, or if you're having a conversation and you're
I can write
fooling
anything
around,
down.
because a lot of people tend to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not serious half the time, so think about that. Just be careful. Probably your interviewing days are over anyway.
Yeah.
That's a photography release form, huh? But I guess it doesn't matter. What do you want me to sign it here?
Oh. Yeah, why don't you just sign it here? Okay. Got all the business taken care of. They were so afraid we're going to forget to do these things before
Yeah.
we get the interviews over with. We'll do that. Okay. Alright, so we'll just do first husband here. Did you, when you were married, did you move in here, or how long have you lived in this home?
I've lived here approximately 33 years.
33. So that was like 10 years, no, not 10 years, 5, 6 years after you got married?
No, it was about 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. So you raised your children, all your children in this
Oh,
house?
they were raised in this house.
And how far are we from the new area? Is this the actual, Oak Park?
Oak Hill?
Oak Hill.
This is, from what I understand, this was built.
Mm-hmm.
There are 500 homes here,
Mm-hmm.
and they were built for people primarily who were in the service
Okay.
and needed a place to live, and it was supposed to be fairly inexpensive
Mm-hmm.
for those days. And Actually, it was because I believe the basic house, which was a 6-room house, without any additions on it. When I first saw them, I thought it was a little salt box. I mean, that's what they looked like. And they still, some do, some are still left that way, but very few. They went for $78.80 or $78.20 for the basic house. That's $7,000.
$7,000. I'm just like, well, $78,000 isn't much of a bargain. $7,800. Oh my gosh. That's like what?
Would you
2 bedrooms
believe
or
that?
something?
There were 3 bedrooms.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Can't even buy a car that back then.
No. But it's interesting because these homes now, I think a basic house, I'm not quite sure, but I think they've been sold for $150,000.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous.
I think you made your money.
Which is ridiculous. All I know is that I would have moved out of here long ago, but I had my children to bring up. And when with my first divorce, I stayed here because I did not want to move away. And I wanted my children to finish school, and I had gone back to school. So it was a matter of supporting myself, going to school, and having my children finish school.
Yeah.
So it seems as though half of my lifetime has been spent, 30-odd years have been spent in this home.
Really?
Not that I wanted to live here, but this is the way it was, and today doesn't matter, because either we will eventually move to a warmer climate or stay here and go away for a few months during the year, so it really doesn't matter. However, most people who moved into these homes, it was a stepping stone for them to go on further.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Because I thought,
Yeah.
I was under the impression that they were, supposed to be family homes.
They are family homes.
Wow.
But most of the people that moved in,
Went back in when they were first made.
yeah, were fairly well educated people, majority of them, and it was a stepping stone. It was like a first home, and they were ready to go out. There were a lot of people who did remain, but for various reasons. And not that there's anything wrong with these homes, don't get me wrong, there isn't. But people who went on to the more corporate ladder and stepped up what they considered up in the world more, went into bigger homes. More for show, more for whatever made them feel better as people.
The American dream.
Yeah.
So, do you have any neighbors who've been here?
Sure. Dot Howard across the street's been here since the inception of this.
Really?
Yeah. They were one of the original owners. And Dottie has never added on to her house.
Did you add on to this house?
Oh, sure.
What's added on?
Well, this is an added portion. I couldn't go out any further because we did this about a year or so after we moved in. And then about 3 years later, we added that whole back one with that back bedroom with the bathroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is an upstairs, right?
Huh?
This has an
I didn't go up. I didn't want to go up. No. This has no cellar either.
Yep.
It has an attic, but it has no cellar. These are...
What's the heating like then?
Heating's in the floor.
Oh, I was going to say.
Take out my shoes.
That cold. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's a dry heat, but It's okay. At least, the only thing you have to worry about with these floors, and then if something does happen, rather than jackhammer a floor, you put in a different type of heating. You put it around the walls on the floor.
So the house is, I mean, you can't,
There are coils in the floor, that's where the heat's coming.
Oh, okay. I can't even tell if this is an add-on. So were the houses made that way, or just really done really well, or both?
Well, this is where the back door used to be, right over here.
So you added on that whole section? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise,
The
that
living room,
that
is
living room, I believe was 11.5 by 13, the original living room. It was very small.
Yeah, it's tiny. And this was the size of the kitchen?
Yeah, the kitchen was
The kitchen
fairly
was
good.
like almost as big as the living room.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. And when Ted moved in, he wanted to break down everything. And I wouldn't let him do it because I didn't think we were going to stay here that long, because he had a townhouse in town, which we sold. Because I didn't want to live in it. I couldn't see myself climbing 4 flights of stairs.
Where was it in the city?
Right behind the 57
The 57 bar.
restaurant. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I ate there last fall. That was a great.
Yeah,
that's
it's right in
amazing.
the middle of
That's a nice
town.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. My daughter was furious that I wouldn't move in. But I'm very forbidden.
You're not eccentrically located here, huh?
Well, as Ted puts it, he said he had to come all the way to Newton. He said where he could get a nosebleed because his business, his office used to be right in the Park Square building, which is right near there.
Yeah.
And he bought the place so that he would have to just walk to
Really?
work.
No.
And it didn't turn out that way.
So he still works down on Park Street?
No,
Park
he's
Street.
now moved down into the Wool District because the prices of space, office space in town is unbelievable.
I can imagine.
And unfortunately he has to stay in town because what he does, the type of work he does, requires that he do it within the city limits of Boston, because it is for the cab industry.
Oh, it's for the cat. All right, so let me think. Well then, this is interesting that you really are one of the oldest people. I mean, oldest.
That's right, I am.
Oldest residents.
Residents, yeah.
And what kind of people were it when you moved in here?
We were all young.
You're all young. Where was your husband in the?
He was
War?
in the shoe business.
He didn't
He
go.
still is.
He wasn't in the war then.
Huh?
He wasn't in the war.
Yeah, he was in the Navy.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, that's how we got in here.
Did
You had to be, originally you had to be a veteran.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Originally.
Then you weren't allowed to buy it if you weren't?
Unless you were a veteran. And it changed.
Huh. That's... How do people feel about that?
In those days,
Yeah.
I don't think they thought too much about it. I don't know how long that rule lasted, but it was why it was done in the beginning. It was for veterans. And actually it was a good thing at that time because there were a lot of people who couldn't afford homes then that could afford a place like this.
Well, were these cheaper than most homes?
I would think so,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we did look around, and I know I was pregnant with my son at the time. And the homes that we looked at, particularly here in Newton, were much higher.
Why did you
Of course,
wanna
they
live
were
in
much
Newton?
bigger. Not for any reason. We looked in various places, but we ended up here. We were living in Boston
Mm-hmm.
in an apartment.
Is that where you
well,
lived while you was in the war?
No, when I met him, he was already out of
Oh, he was
the
already
city.
out. Oh,
Oh,
okay. Oh, I guess it's the
Yeah.
same. Okay.
But when I first went to the conservatory,
Mm-hmm.
which was back in 1944,
Mm-hmm.
in World War II, when the war was almost over. We had a lot of young men that had come back in through the GI Bill that were going to college, and women.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a few at the conservatory. We had 2 or 3 women that were in there. And they were quite capable of running their lives in those days because they had had
Yeah.
a bit more experience than the ordinary person.
Mm-hmm.
And the school that I went to in those days, the conservatory, was a very prestigious school in the sense that it had mostly, up until the war, debutantes
Mm-hmm.
and people that were going, unless they were absolutely marvelous in the field of music, whether they were solo players or whatever. But these are the people that went to the conservatory. It was a very small private school, privately endowed.
Privately.
And it was an interesting experience for me because I came from a middle class family.
Oh, really?
And it was very interesting for me to go to a place like that. I had a lot of talent. That's why I got in.
Did you like it though?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
But that's veering off from what we're doing. That's a whole other story.
Darn. What were the people? So the people who lived here were all veterans, and they were all young.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, there were quite a few people that lived here that went on to be judges, and that went on to, they still have people coming in, buying homes and going to school for a while, finishing up their education and then moving out. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I have one little girl whose father is finishing up his medical career.
Where would they be going to school if they lived here?
They can go anywhere. There's all these hospitals around here. They're doctors. Lawyers, I don't know. There are quite a few lawyers that live in the vicinity. But a lot of people move in here because for Newton, this is the lower housing bracket.
Oh, okay.
I would think. In other words, you would not have to pay as much for a house here. Still a good price. But you would not have to pay for as much for a house here as you would further down the line because the homes are bigger.
And they're older.
Oh, they're older. And a lot of people can't afford.
Do you think that people don't, or that they prefer living in the older neighborhoods to living, because this is a planned community, right?
Oh no, this was a wonderful community for children.
Really? Yeah.
It was marvelous.
Did you teach while you were raising your kids?
No. No, I was one of those women who believed in staying at home.
My mom still believes in it.
As a matter of fact, I did not go out teaching until my daughter was out of high school. And my son he was a senior when I went back to talk. But anyhow, by the way, my kids did help me tremendously, because if I had a 5 o'clock class, my daughter would come home from school and cook the evening meal for me.
Really? When you were going?
Yeah.
Getting,
I mean, my kids were really supportive.
Mm-hmm. When did you?
I was lucky.
When were you?
I went back to school when I was 38.
I can't imagine doing that.
Sure you can.
Not when I was raising 2 children. But when were you and your husband divorced?
My divorce became final, I think, in 1968.
So you were married a little less than 20 years?
18 years.
18.
Yeah.
So the kids were in high school, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your husband?
And it was
your old ex-husband moved out of this area?
yeah, he was already living in New York. He was living in Sutton Place.
Okay. We'll go on to the next subject. Yeah. But, so then, alright, so your children, and where did your kids go to school?
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
We had the grade school, which is now taken over by the Schechter School. They bought it out.
The Schechter?
Schechter School.
What's that? Is that?
It's a Jewish private school, Hebrew school. And the reason that the children that came along were not using that school was because the number of children that were being born had lessened, and the number of children that lived here were fewer. So the people like myself who were getting older and whose children were growing up were what was left.
Yeah.
And a lot of the elderly, a few of the elderly population moved in and bought homes.
Oh. Well, so you're
So there was always a turnover,
yeah.
a quick turnover.
And your children are like the baby boom era, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Because that's when the Belgian people came back from the war and started having children. Right?
My children were, I think, probably in with a lot of children from various walks of life. I mean, most people are as they grow. But this was a community in itself. Some people had more money, some people had less, some were professionals, some were not. But it was 500 families, and everybody knew each other. And I mean knew each other. We put on plays. When I first moved in here, and my children were young, we did a lot of plays, and we had them once a year. But we worked for months, 5 to 6 months, to perfect that play. Wrote all original music, the original book. I mean, we found things to keep us moving and busy. And when I first moved in here, I did a lot of accompanying work, so I used to have to go into town quite a bit. And I did teach for a while in a music school, which was on Commonwealth Ave. So I would get a babysitter in for about 3 hours, and I'd go in by streetcar.
Is it difficult to get to public transportation from here?
Yes.
Because when I was
It's
lost,
once an hour.
and I was trying to find a gas station or something, I couldn't
most
figure out
of the
where.
people who live here, if their husbands are working in town or have their own businesses or whatever,
in town you
the
mean
wife,
Boston, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The wives usually have to have a pen, because otherwise you're stranded here.
What was it like in the 50s then?
Well,
Because most people didn't have 2 cars then, right?
no, we had one car then. And the 60s, you had to have 2 cars.
So you guys are pretty reliant on the community,
Yeah.
right? Because when the teacher told us we were going to be doing this area, we drove around through it, and she showed us how some of the houses weren't made to be accessible with a car.
Right.
And that they had to turn it around from the back to the front.
Right.
And this
Right.
seems, I mean, if you didn't have a car, and they expected people to get around, I mean, that's...
Well, I
That seems
will
like it'd be
tell you a
pretty
little
inconvenient.
anecdote,
Uh-huh.
and it's really funny. The first time I left here to go to teach for a couple of hours, and it was wonderful just to get out.
Yeah.
And my next door neighbor, who has moved away long gone, had 4 children of her own. And she said to me, "Go." She said, "It'll do you good to get out." She said, "I'll watch the baby while you're gone." So she took the baby into her house. And my daughter was playing with her children, so that was okay. I got into town. I went in by streetcar. Coming home, I decided I'll blow the money that I had and take a cab home, because it would have taken me a long time.
Yeah. So you took one all the way from the city?
So I took one all the way from Boston.
Oh my gosh.
And I got him as far as the entryway to the cab, to the park, which was Wiswall Road.
Uh-huh.
And we came down Wiswall, and I had never driven in and out of the park on my own, and I couldn't remember where to go.
Oh no.
And I couldn't find my house.
Oh my gosh.
And I had never told this story to anybody, but I was beside myself. The cab driver felt so badly for me, he turned off the meter, and we went around the park till I finally recognized something.
Well, when you took the streetcar, how did you get to and from? You needed a path or whatever?
Well, I took the bus right the corner of the street.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I learned quickly after that.
Really? Certainly would.
It shows you how bright we are.
I have no sense of direction. I was staring at those directions on the way over. Oh gosh.
I went cross country with my daughter. When she moved to California, she drove all the way.
You drove to California from here? Wow. How many days did that take you?
Wow. It was about 4.5. 5.
Wow.
Because we stopped a couple of places, but we really
That's
traveled.
fast. To go all the way to California.
And she has a marvelous sense of direction. And we stopped at we went out of our way about 8 hours too. We went into Wisconsin because of my girlfriend and stayed overnight. We came back through Chicago and kept our going. But
I'm from
quite a
Chicago,
trip.
and it's still a hike from Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, she's down in different name of the place now. But she was president of the music school college.
Mm-hmm.
And she isn't anymore. Last couple of years she stopped. But her husband's at the university in Wisconsin.
Oh really?
Yeah.
In Madison?
Not in Madison.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. And so the two of them have been here for quite a few years. As a matter of fact, when I was divorced, I took a trip down there. I wanted to see if I wanted to relocate there because I could have a job down there.
In Milwaukee.
Yeah. just is not my cup of tea. I don't think I'd want to get stuck in that. There's a lot going on for the educational community.
I've not spent any time in Milwaukee. I know a lot
It's a
of
very clean city.
I hear nice things about it, but I'm not.
Yeah. I played surrogate mother to her daughter for a while when she was up here. She was taking some Suzuki stuff at Wesley College and
Suzuki stuff?
Yeah.
Well then, it's considering your whole family's pretty musical, the Kline community must have, just the theater aspect of it all must have seemed pretty great. Because didn't they have a community center, where you put these plays on and stuff?
Oh, we used to put them on at the school.
Oh, at the school.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a center?
That's new.
That's new? So when was that
A
done?
few years ago. Well, I haven't done
I thought
any
there was
of-
like big bingo and things like that. No?
We had people that wrote. We had people did lots of things. I mean, we had to find things to keep us stimulated.
Just because you were housewives, or?
No, because this is the way we were. As a matter of fact, I heard from somebody whom I hadn't heard from in years. He happened to find out that my husband was a jazz buff. He didn't know I had remarried. He didn't even know I was still here. His wife had passed on. He's remarried. And somebody gave him my husband's phone number because he was interested in some jazz records. And he called the number and he said, am I speaking to him? I said, told him. And he said, my God, is that you? He said, you're still in Oak Hill Park? And I said, yeah. He said, when I think back, he said, what we did, now his wife did all the sewing for the costumes, and he said, she was marvelous. And she had graduated from the University of Massachusetts. She was a botanist. I mean, we have people here that were just unbelievable. They could do lots of things. Nobody was afraid to try.
That's cool.
And I think a lot of the kids were intimidated as they grew up by the adults.
By their parents?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Just in succeeding?
Yeah,
Happens to a lot of kids, I think.
yeah. But anyhow, you think back and you say to yourself, my God, the things that we did, and people would come and go. So you'd find new people to do things with. Now we had some choruses here. I helped out with those. See, I was more interested in bringing up my children and making sure that they had a really good education all the way around.
Yeah.
So we used to go to various places and museums and concerts and things like that.
Did you have to go back in the city usually?
Yeah. But, and I had a lot of people coming in here and we used to play chamber music.
Really? Well, I'm trying to get a feel also for like the people who grew up, who lived here. Like you said they just came from all different walks of life and different stepping stones, etc. Like, were there any generalizations that you could make? You know, like were they? Did you notice a lot of nationalities similar? You know.
Well, specifically, I think today we're getting more of a differentiation of people than we did before. At one point, there were a lot of Jewish people moving into this area, and then that stopped. Then there were a lot of I think pretty much, I shouldn't say that because most of the people that I knew were all different religions and different nationalities. Most of them have been in this country a long time. Now we're getting in people. Right behind me, these people here just put in this swimming pool. They come from South America. They're Spanish speaking. And we have on the corner, we have a lot of Chinese people coming in now.
How do people who live here feel about that?
How do they feel about it? I wouldn't know. Because I don't have that much to do with anybody anymore because I'm older, and there is a younger group that has come in, and we do have our little community center now, which, by the way, my husband is very active in getting, because he was at one point president of the association. Not that he wanted to be, but he was shoved into it. So, only because he happens to be pretty good at managerial things. So, but he did do a lot. People really opposed it. Opposed having it because they felt that the kids would wreck it. They felt that the kids were getting to be a real bad element. And, it's interesting because through teaching and through seeing what's going on through the years, you always have certain kids that are going to do certain things. And you always have to be very careful that whatever you do or whatever you say will not in any way harm or do harm to what's going on around you. Now, when my kids were growing up, we had a lot of kids that used to come into this area because there were stores.
Where are the stores?
You know where the condos are down here? Have you taken a look at all?
Yeah.
They built, there used to be a whole battery of stores there.
Okay.
We had a market, we had a supermarket, we still have a few stores left. We have a little general store now. And we had a beauty parlor, which is still there. We have a bar.
Still a little younger out here.
This wasn't here. I started out in Quincy.
Okay.
And I taught near the, what's the name of that place? Toward the edge. Where they have kids that jump into the water. They jump off of.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember the name of that.
What is it? I think I have a friend who lives out there.
I'm having a terrible aphasia problem as we get older. I can't remember names of places or people. The quarry.
Yeah.
That's what they
I have a
call
friend
it.
who fell there this summer and basically ripped his face off.
No kidding. I had one girl that stood up in a classroom. This was 8th grade. And she turned to somebody else who was really a nasty kid. And this kid was a rough kid. Actually, what it was a chorus that I had. I had 120 girls in a chorus, which is way too much for one teacher to handle. One of my choruses wasn't a classroom. And this girl was giving the rest of the girls in her section a rough time and me. And she turned to her and she said, "Look here, you." She said, "You leave," at the time her name was Maxwell. She said, "You leave Mrs. Maxwell alone, or you're going to have me to deal with up in the quarry." And these kids were tough. I mean, tough.
Wow.
I only stayed in Quincy 2 years. I couldn't take it anymore.
The public schools there, I think, are really...
And
Don't they have kind of a reputation of being pretty tough?
They're tough.
How are the public schools around here?
Well, I went to Cohasset when I started the METCO program.
The Metco?
METCO.
What's that?
They're busing in the black children from Boston.
Oh, okay.
And they had quite a contingency coming in. And the teachers, you talk about how do people respond.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't even tell you this, but the teachers in Cohasset were beside them. They really didn't like it. And
Were they bused to Cohasset?
yep. They're bused to Newton now, I understand. They've had that METCO program here in Newton for a while. And they had a little incident, I guess the other day. Maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, but it was on TV, whereby a white and a black student went into a real good fight, and they started a little bit of a tip-out outside the school. And I think one of the bus windows got broken. Yeah, there's an awful lot of it. When I went to Cohasset, we had that, but I only filled in there. I was there for about 4 or 5 months. And then from there I went to Medford, and I was there until I stopped teaching. And Medford had an area where the living was the housing was practically maybe about a quarter of a mile black area, and the rest was not. It was all white. So there was a definite differentiation between them.
Mm-hmm.
The two ways of living. And in school, there was an awful lot of animosity going on constantly, which was bad. And I felt badly because I was always one of these people that was for the underdog, and it bothered me. But I saw so much going on that I did as much as I could to help, but it was almost like a losing battle in the school system, public school system. It's unbelievable what goes on. And I shouldn't say this, but it bothered me. And that's one reason I never liked. I loved teaching, but I didn't like what was going on, and it got worse and worse. And I think today it must be horrible to be a teacher.
Yeah. I
Must
do
be
an internship downtown where the kids from public schools come in and discuss the Boston Tea Party. And I was in there one day, and someone else was discussing it with children, and like 2/3 of the kids couldn't even understand what the lady was saying because they didn't speak English.
and I was talking to her afterwards because I was horrified by this, and she said that she used to be a teacher and she got out of it because they turned into psychologists and sociologists instead of, teachers because of all the problems.
Well, they had quite a few problems. I had one girl, now think of this carefully, she was going on 13.
Mm-hmm.
And she had quite a reputation.
At 13?
At 13. And one of the girls in the class came over to me and she said, please, she said, she's my friend, will you talk to her? She's very upset.
Mm-hmm.
She's very depressed. And she won't go to the school psychologist. Well, the school psychologist,
Yeah.
anyway. So I spent about an hour and a half to 2 hours after school talking to her, and I finally got her to go into the principal's office. And she was sleeping around with every young kid in that school, barring none.
Really?
Barring none, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And she had such a low opinion of herself. So she finally agreed to go to the principal. The principal said to me, it was a woman principal, she said, thanks so much for bringing her in. She said, now, you have nothing to do with this anymore. And I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was out of my hands. But I was glad that I had at least got her to go in and talk to him. So she started going to a special psychologist there. And they got her to put on a dress once in a while, fix herself up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She'd come in and dungarees all the time. She looked really together. She began to feel better about herself, and one day she came over to me and she said, you think you're pretty great, don't you? These are the way the kids are. She said, because you got me to go into help myself. She said, well, it wasn't you. It was me. I said, I know it was you. I said, I'm very, very glad that you're trying to help me. She says, but it doesn't change me. She says, I still like sex. She says, and if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. I mean, so these kids
at 13,
are pretty smart.
Gosh.
They're streetwise. And their parents would probably break their necks if they... this is part of it. Some of these kids have been beaten. Some of these kids have been violated in their own homes. And they won't talk about it. It's something that for years I looked away from. I didn't want to see it until I was forced to look at it. Fortunately, thank God, none of that ever happened in my home.
Mm-hmm.
You say to yourself, you bring your children up and you look around and you supposedly are doing the best in helping them to help themselves, to better themselves, all the way, all the time. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with what we call values.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the kids that you teach here, they're from the area, right?
Oh, yeah. No, these are just piano students. Now, the kids I have now are primarily very bright.
And they're all from the area?
They're all from Newton Center and this area. And I have ended up, ironically, with the children who are primarily in religious schools. I have...
are you very religious?
No, not at all. I believe in God.
That's more than
I'm
I
a
do
deist.
right now.
I'm a deist. But that's been through a lifetime of really contemplating
Mm-hmm.
and being in with religion. I gave my children a religious education.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one daughter who really appreciates it, and my son could care less, but it's his choice.
Yeah.
Whatever he decides is his business, and she also. However, the thing is that you really can't do too much with trying to push yourself or your own ideas onto a young mind, because it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, something gives.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're in your early formative years, whether you're in your 20s, whether you're in your 30s, whether you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
Eventually it catches up, and some people go through life this way. They never grow up. It's nice to be young, don't get me wrong, but they just do not wish to formulate their own opinions. They want somebody to tell them how to do things all their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm trying to bring out. The people that we had here were mostly, at one time, people who were able to do things and formulate their own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you agreed with them or not was something
Yeah.
else, but we had quite a difference of opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody managed to work together,
Mm-hmm.
which was very interesting.
Well, why do you think everyone tried so hard?
Because I think everyone wanted to be a part of bringing up their children properly, being able to give something to somebody else, or if somebody needed something, they would help each other out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find that as much, I don't think, today. I think today that what you're getting is people who want to show off rather than help.
Yeah.
I may
you guys
be
must have all
wrong.
had such a bond, though. You know, moving in here, all being veterans
Yeah,
and
yeah.
young families.
Yeah, we did. We enjoyed it,
Uh-huh.
and it was good for the kids.
Uh-huh.
It really was.
Yeah.
The only time the children ever felt any difference of any kind was when they eventually got into high school, because there were a lot of kids from other areas who were, very aware and very conscious of money.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is
that's
that from the other parts of New York?
Yeah.
So is the high school that they go to up through what, 8th grade?
Ninth, I
Ninth
think.
grade.
It used to be ninth. I don't know whether it's eighth now. I think it's
changed
changed
over.
over.
But
Yeah.
they just did that mostly with the kids around here.
Yeah.
And then the high school is
Mhm.
all of Newton.
Mhm.
And how
There
far
are
is
two
that
high
from-
schools.
Oh, there's 2 high schools.
Yeah, there's Newton South, which is, it's up near Cynthia Road. It's up in that area. It's, I don't know how many children from where go to Newton South. Newton South is a small school.
Mm-hmm.
But Newton South, Newton North is the big school.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Newton corner. And Newton South, I think, has the higher rating.
Oh, really?
I think so. I hate to say it, but I think it does.
Uh-huh.
It's a small school. I think it's more
Specialized?
specialized.
And which did your children go to?
South. And
So then, do they interact well with the kids from the other areas, or they just they thought their values were a little out of whack?
yeah,
They didn't hit it off.
yeah. Yeah, they had a few problems. And yet, both my children had a lot of wealthy friends.
Mm-hmm.
When I say wealthy, the children that they played with were from various families. Now, my daughter had one friend that lived in South Brookline
Okay.
that she met that went to Newton South.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother used to drive her here with her chauffeur in a black Cadillac.
Oh.
She came in once. But, I mean, it's really interesting
Uh-huh.
because I, on the other hand, have a lot of friends from various walks of life, and I was once told that there was something wrong with me because I could adapt to any situation. That I didn't
That sounds
care
more
about
as
money.
a quality more than a...
It was funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, did the area...
Now,
Newton
this area has
like
really,
community?
I'm sure they did, but this area always seemed to be the last to get anything
Really?
from the city.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
And, well, when, for instance, if a street lamp went off,
Uh-huh.
it would take 10 years before you could get anybody to fix the street lamp. Snow removal.
Uh-huh. That's what I was going to ask.
We're the last ones in this old city. I mean that sincerely.
Uh-huh.
The last storm, they didn't even plow the street.
This winter, those storms?
That's right.
Oh, jeez.
My husband got stuck in the middle of the street.
Mm.
And we almost had, and he's 78 years old.
Yeah, that would... I think
All
I'd
right.
want my street plowed.
Okay? So, anyway, but that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as City Hall is concerned,
Yeah.
we really had to fight for everything and anything that we wanted. We've had a lot of people here that have worked for the community
Mm-hmm.
through the years. I even helped out when they had, they first built this little community house. I gave a couple of my piano recitals down there. Somebody had donated a horrible piano,
Mm-hmm.
but I had it really gone over, and I paid for it so that I could have the recital, so that I could pay them the money
Yeah.
and have it there rather than somewhere else or in the house if I didn't have enough room. So it was really an interesting thing because it was nice in the beginning. Now that the younger people are coming in, it's as it should be. They're running it their way.
Mm-hmm.
And the older people, they don't need, which is the way it is, but the older people had to, in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
set it up for them.
Uh-huh.
This is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to bring out. It was really interesting. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody felt that it was worthwhile.
It's interesting.
But now that they have it, they're using it
Productively?
productively, I would say. I'm sure. My husband doesn't go to board meetings too much anymore.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna have to run. So
I know.
one more question.
Sure.
Do you still think that do you think of the community as separate from Newton? Or
In my
is it
mind,
blending, or what do you think?
oh, it's blended up to a point,
Mhm.
and it always will. It's part of it. But as I say, I think it's slowly maybe changing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that people consider this the upper echelon of Newton, no.
Do they differentiate just
I-
like monetarily?
Yeah, I think monetarily there's still a feel there about it. I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. because that may
has
be
its own little flavor and character.
Up to a point, yeah. But then again, we have our own flea markets once a year.
Really?
Yeah. And those are great.
Are they? I love them.
We used to have everything. We used to have bike races and walkathons and you name it, we had it because we kept ourselves moving. And I don't know what they're doing today. I think they're going to they try, but I don't know how successful they are because I'm not really in with it anymore. I have too many other things I'm doing on my own. Now I am more private. So
every time.
That's how I felt about it. When my husband became president that time, but I did help. We all helped to get it going again. And once it got going, here, it's yours. That's the way it should be. Hopefully it flourishes. I hope it does. But it's been a good community all the way around. It really has. We've had a few things happen off and on that haven't been so nice, but things happen in every community. And that's about it.